there, my name is Anna and I'm one of the occupational therapists that works here at QLI in Omaha. We know that you guys usually are able to come to our campus in order to do this presentation about assistive technology, and we're so sad and so sorry that you weren't able to come today. But obviously because of COVID-19, which is the reason you guys will see us wearing these masks throughout the presentation, that we're having to be really careful with who comes on and off our campus at this time. We are so hopeful though that those things change very quickly and that we can have you guys back on our campus as soon as possible. Today what we're going to be talking about is assistive technology and how that plays a role in our interventions and getting people home. QLI is a rehabilitation center that works with brain and spinal cord injured patients, and we are often the last step before somebody does go home. So assistive technology is able to play a role in making somebody as independent as possible in order to get there. We're really excited to have you guys along for this presentation today. We are going to have you following along with myself and some of my other occupational therapists that I work with, along with a couple of our speech therapists as well, to show you some of the technology that we have here on campus. Okay, so you guys are here today to learn a little bit more about our assistive technology. So specifically today, what we're going to go over with you is some of the assistive technology that we use on an everyday basis with our residents. So those things that are most familiar to us. I think the most important thing to talk about though is that with assistive technology, you hear the word technology and you fall into that technology trap of wanting to get the latest and the greatest technology available. Now that's not necessarily the best technology out there. It may be, but it may not be what fits your particular patient, or in our case, our particular residents here. So we want to talk about kind of the spectrum of assistive technology today, and talk even about some of those lower tech items, and then work our way up too, so that you guys are able to see what some of those things are that are available out there that cost a little bit more, but again, may not be what your specific patient needs. Sometimes all your patient needs in order to be successful and more independent in their everyday life are things that are just really simple. So things such as these. These are little built-up rubber buttons that we're able to put on somebody's phone, a remote, a button that they're trying to access, that give them just a little bit more tactile information, and they're able to press those and be more independent. So something as simple as essentially a sticker can still be considered assistive technology. We also have different types of styluses. This is just a really simple stylus that we've stuck in a universal cuff. This might allow somebody who doesn't have the dexterity or the coordination in their fingers to access their phone or any touchscreen device that they might be using. I have used this with residents in the past, and this has been the difference between them being able to call in an emergency situation or needing 24-hour assistance. As you guys are going to see a little bit later, we have some different switches that we use here at QLI as well that pair. These are really simple switches. So this here is just a button, so something that clicks and it plugs into whatever device that you're trying to use. We've hooked these up before to people's fans or people's lamps, so that if they're laying in bed overnight and they need to cool off or use their light to do something like toilet overnight, that they're able to independently turn these things on themselves just with the switch of this button here. And then something like this. This again is a really good example of the fact that we don't have to use those latest and greatest things. This looks like a dinosaur in comparison to a lot of the things that you're going to see out there from an AT standpoint. But this is just a very large remote. And again, so for somebody who doesn't have the coordination to run something small or run something on the touch screen, or even somebody who doesn't have the ability to use their voice stable enough in order to give commands to another device, this might be all somebody needs in order to be able to watch TV on their own. And then the last thing I want to show you are just, again, along with the styluses, are different types of adaptive equipment that we can use as well. So this is a mouth stick here. So this would go in somebody's mouth if they don't have the ability to use their arms or their fingers, and that would go into their mouth. And this end here is a little stylus so that they're able to utilize their mouth in order to direct select information on a phone or a touch screen. Now these low-tech options are great. We kind of have some of those middle-of-the-road options as well. So with technology getting better and better every year, there are really cool items that some of the biggest companies out there have created. So this probably looks familiar to a lot of you. This is an Amazon Echo. Right next to that is a Google Home device. These devices run on the cheaper end, especially as some of those newer models come out. And this is a way that you can actually make your home a little bit smarter just by using your voice. So again, if you're not able to access physically being able to turn on your light or control the temperature in your house, These devices can be paired with some of those features in your own home to make you more independent. The biggest thing that we want you to take away from this presentation today is that all of this technology is great, but it's only great if it has the end goal of making you more independent and making you safer in your everyday life. So that's really why we're using these things. The Alexa here can actually pair with the lights. So this itself is a smart room. Later on in the presentation, you're gonna see a really smart room that we have here on campus. So a room that's set up all with voice commands. This room has some of those features, but the thing that is really cool that we were able to pair in this room is the microwave that we have here. Alexa, turn on microwave for 1 minute.
1 minute on power level 10.
Alexa, stop microwave. So that's one of the features that the Alexa can do, again, paired with a microwave. As you can see here, we have this strap on here as well. This is just a piece of equipment that allows somebody to be more independent with physically accessing the microwave itself. But if they don't have the ability to press the buttons on that microwave, it can be paired with a device such as this. Another thing that I want to talk to you guys about is a system that's called Dragon Naturally Speaking. You may have heard about this system, but this is a really great system that allows you to use your voice on the computer or a tablet or whatever device you may be using in order to be able to type and even access really all of the features of your computer. We have used this a lot in the past for our residents that are trying to get back to work that aren't physically able to either use a mouse or type. So this is a really great way for somebody to be able to access all aspects of that computer. Paired with Dragon, which I will show you in a moment, we also have just different ways that we can physically adapt a workstation. So there are different types of mouses. You can see the difference between these two here. Sometimes these trackball mouses are a little bit easier for those who have reduced dexterity in their hands to be able to access. This one here we are currently using with a resident who has poor coordination and dexterity in his hand, but with his palm, he is able to actually move this mouse around and pair that with our Dragon Naturally Speaking system in order to do that typing that he's looking to do. From a keyboard standpoint, this is one of our smaller keyboards. We have some smaller keyboards as well as some low vision keyboards too that allow people to be able to access the keyboard if they're physically able to. But again, sometimes it may make more sense to use something like Dragon in order to do their job quicker and more efficiently. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys how we are able to actually use Dragon in order to access the internet. So this will be an example of one way that we can use this technology. Wake up, open Google Chrome, College of St. Mary, press enter. Click Welcome to College of St. Mary. Click Academics. Click Health Professions. Start scrolling down. Stop scrolling. Click Occupational Therapy. Start scrolling down. So now we're going to hand it over to Aubrey, who's one of our speech language pathologists, to explain and demonstrate one of our Bluetooth switches.
So here we have the Bluetooth switch from AbleNet. This runs for about $200. This, out of all of our switches that we've had here at QLI, this is one of my favorites. I find it the easiest to pair with just about any device, from an iPhone, iPad, anywhere up to a high-tech Dynavox device. So what I've been using this for specifically is for a couple of residents who have severe ataxia and just have trouble coordinating with direct selection with their hands. So this really takes kind of that motion away, keeps it close to their body, and then they can just use really small movements. It's really easy to press and quick response. So again, based on the device you have, you can set up a step scanning where you're hitting and going through an app, or like what I'm using for my resident right now is he fatigues pretty fast, so it's on an auto scan, and that way he's just hitting the exact one that he wants. So this is going to really open up a lot of opportunity for him throughout his day. He has a lot of strengths, and He's going to be able to communicate with friends, access games, structure of day, orientation, I mean, you name it. I'll just kind of show you how this works real quick. For this iPad in particular, I have the auto scanning set on. I turn it on by tapping 3 times, and it's going to start scanning.
FaceTime through clock, 10:23 a.m.
And
Maps through weather.
I'll just kind of let it run real quick.
App Store through messages.
So I've opened the Snap Plus Core app. This is from Dynavox, and I'm going to show you how it works with the Bluetooth switch.
Bathroom.
I need to use the bathroom.
Okay.
Speak.
For this one, I have it on repetitive scanning so that if he needs to ask for something else or keep communicating, he can go into other folders, but you can put on different settings to have it stop once you hit the first button. So that was just a quick example of one of the ways that you can use this switch to really increase somebody's structure of day and independence throughout their day. There's a bunch of different other options that you can to customize this Bluetooth switch, but all right, thank you.
All right, so now we're going to talk about 2 different pieces of technology that are a little bit higher level. So today I have the QuadJoy here and I have the GlassOuse. So first, if we talk about the QuadJoy, these are pieces of equipment that are going to be really helpful to help those folks who have higher level injuries and have some physical impairments that don't allow them to use their arms when operating a computer system. So the QuadJoy specifically is used, it was named after those folks who have had quadriplegic level injuries, and it comes from a company called Quad Life. This retails, the mouse itself retails for around $1,200, but then all of the connections and things like that run a little bit more as accessories with it. It's really neat though, because what you can actually do is you will have a clear straw on the end of this, and you're able to move the mouse using your mouth itself. So if I kind of demonstrate without putting my mouth on this for sanitary reasons, you can kind of see the mouse rolling across the screen here, and then clicks, and the way that you select are via sip and puff. So you would be able to either sip or puff in order to double click, to click, to right click, and to use all the functionality that you normally would with the mouse. The next piece of equipment that I'm going to talk about here is called the GlassOuse. This itself is not eye gaze, but this pairs with the computer itself, and so this part on top is able to pair with the mouse on the screen. And then this blue piece right here, if you hear that click, is actually a bite pad. So this is how you are able to click and double click. So I've used both of these pieces of equipment with past residents of mine, and it's been really cool to see them be able to get back to living their life. One of the residents used our GlassOuse system here because he loved to search the web and send emails, and that was his passion. And he had both a spinal cord and a brain injury, and the GlassOuse was able to get him back to doing both of the things that he loved to do. The QuadJoy we were able to use with the resident who went back to work being a lawyer, and he was a very high level spinal cord injury, had no use of his arms at all, and he was able to get back to living his life and going to work through equipment such as this. So although it may seem like a pricey investment at first, it does allow him to get back to doing the things that he ultimately loves doing.
Hi guys, my name is Corey. I'm an occupational therapist here at QLI, and I am sitting with one of the gentlemen I work with, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hi there, my name is Michael Davatil, and I would like to say hello to the guests.
So what you guys just got to hear was a message from Michael's AAC device, a Tobii Dynavox. This is a talk-to-text device that Michael uses daily to express communication due to some voicing issues that he has. And not only does this Tobii Dynavox talk for him, it does several other things that we're going to be going over during our little segment here. So we're going to move out to the middle of the room so we can show a couple different things that Michael's device can do, along with some other environmental controls that it has. So we're going to reposition out in the center of the room so we can get a really good view of his device from over his shoulder. So Michael's device can access his email, which is what you're seeing here. He can write an email to anyone. He can check all of his emails. Looks really similar to what a desktop email system would look like. He can filter, he can search, send, receive, settings, flag or star any sort of email. again, using all eye gaze technology. The other thing Michael's device can do is access his cell phone through a Bluetooth setup, and his cell phone can be accessed through his device. So right now he's sifting through all of his text conversations with sisters and mom and other family members. He's got a really cute little niece who sister sends lots and lots of pictures from. And again, he can bring it all the way up into a preview. He can sift through other texts from other folks with other pictures and bring those items up to a preview. Full access like any of us would have with our computer or cell phone using eye gaze technology with this device. The other thing Michael can do is he has a Windows 10 browser built into his device where he can then get on the internet like so and then control different aspects of it with, again, eye gaze technology. So right now he's controlling his cursor and he's using eye gaze technology down here at the bottom to select left click, just like we would. So he's clicking where his eyes go. And so he's going to come up and click and control, close the browser, open the browser, can control the type box. Again, if he would go there, he would then be able to type things. And at the bottom here, you're seeing him gaze through different parts of control, and now he's going to type into the box. One neat feature is if you're having a conversation with Michael and you can sit across from him so you're looking at his face, and his device actually has what you see here on this screen, those 3 dots that pop up as he's typing. And that's how you know he's typing something to you. So that way you don't have to sit over his shoulder. This device too, he's looking through some of his histories. It saves things that he chooses to save, so longer things that do take him an extra minute or 2 to type out. So phrases that he uses a lot, or phrases that maybe take a little extra time to type out, he can access them quicker. That way he's not having to take 2, 3, 4 minutes to type something out.
I really don't know.
So, and that, again, that's more like a click of a button rather than having to move to anywhere between 20 and 30 different letters. The other thing his device is paired to do is set up things environmentally. So we all have worked with Echoes and Google Homes and different Alexa controlled devices. And because his device can speak out loud, it can control devices like that. And so what you're gonna see next is Michael turning on his TV and accessing Netflix and getting a show that he wants to watch going all through his device using a voice command box like an Alexa, Google Home, Echo, and then a Fire Stick that's plugged into the TV, again, all controlled through his device that then voices outward for him. So I'm going to give him the opportunity to go through all that here.
Alexa, open Netflix.
Here's Netflix.
Alexa, select that.
So I guess your Imperial Arms does have its uses then.
Something else Mike can do with this device is, just like there, he needed the voice to be louder to talk over the TV screen so that the device could hear him. And so he has a couple controls on the front panel here that he can control with his eyes. You can see them lighting up here. He's turning the volume down. So if he's in a quiet place that he needs the voice of the gentleman talking to be softer, or if he's in a louder place where the voice needs to project a little louder, he can control the volume of that as well. So like here, Michael's got on Facebook, you can check out different things, different parts of his feed, scroll up, down, scan, creep, whatever he wants to do. So just like anyone else would. Has a tab over on the side that says next post, so he can scroll post by post by post. He has options to like, comment, share, update status, anything like that. So a device like this, it's relatively unique to the individual.
Oh, hell to the yes.
Yeah, it's relatively unique to the individual, and this is something that we had submitted to Michael's health insurance to purchase for him. And so what that took was writing a letter of medical necessity signed by therapists here and signed by doctors, really reiterating the point that this device is medically necessary for him to be able to communicate needs and wants. In case of an emergency, he'd be able to tell his talk control devices in his house to dial 911 or something like that. Or again, if he can't breathe, he may be able to communicate that. Or again, emergency situations within basic needs and wants for hunger, thirst, scratch my nose for me, anything like that. We were lucky enough that Michael's insurance agreed to purchase this item for him. If they were unable to, the other option would be for Michael and his family to private pay for this device, and this device costs just over $35,000. So you can see why it is so necessary for him. It allows him to do and have so much more in his environment in his life, and there's definitely a price on that, but at the same time, that's why we were able to write to insurance stating that it's medically necessary for him to have something like his Toby.
Hi guys, I'm Morgan. I'm an occupational therapist here at QLI in Omaha. This is David, one of my residents with a spinal cord injury. He has a C6 Asia B spinal cord injury, and we're going to walk through his environmental control unit and his room and how he can access his environment better through that and his adaptive gaming system. David, do you want to walk us through and show us your gaming setup?
I mean, I can. Really, the big thing with this is the Xbox adaptive controller.
This thing here.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay.
Through that, all you have to do is plug in these buttons or switches to the corresponding port on the controller itself, and then each one of these buttons acts as the button for the controller that you're using.
So what you're saying is if I plug something in to this button here, it's going to be the X.
Yes.
Because it's telling you it's the X.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it's mimicking what a normal Xbox controller would look like. You're just using switches of various types to access that.
Correct. And then the same thing goes for these, which I'm using as joysticks. And then I also have buttons taped to the joysticks for ease of access to those buttons.
So you have the goalpost style because with that C6 level of injury,
I
you have
can't grasp.
tenodesis, but can't grasp something.
Correct.
So this allows you to still enjoy gaming with some physical impairments of the upper extremities.
Correct.
So David, as you're playing and setting up your equipment and the switches, are you able to move the placement of the switches based on what's easiest?
Yes, I can. I pretty much have all of mine where I want them, but I have a Velcro pad right here, and then I also have Velcro on the underside of the buttons, so if I needed to, I could fairly easily take them off and move them and then stick it back down on the Velcro pad, wherever I want to. But like I said, I have these pretty much where I want them. I have, this one here is free floating, but other than that, they're all stationary and pretty tight.
So there's no one setup. It can be adaptable based to the user's needs.
Absolutely. Users' needs for them specifically, or if they want to, they can move them around for every game specifically.
Really, with that being said, they wouldn't even have to stay in front of you then, right? So
No.
Thinking of some other switches that you may use with folks after an injury, we've mounted them like on a headrest of their chair so that they could hit it with head movement.
Yeah.
So ideally,
Yeah, you can hit it with your head, elbow, anything. I mean, basically wherever you have movement, you can put one of these switches.
David, does PlayStation have anything similar to this?
I don't think so. If they do, I haven't been able to find it. I'm playing on a PlayStation. I bought this thing here called a Titan 2, which it pretty much just tricks the PlayStation into thinking that the Xbox controller is a PlayStation controller, which allows me to play what I want.
I haven't heard anything from PlayStation either.
Yeah.
That's actually why I'd asked you. So that's good to know about that option too.
Mm-hmm.
Hi guys, now we're outside David's room in one of our houses here on campus at QLI. He just moved into this new apartment that has an environmental control unit in it to allow him practicing accessing his environment using several different pieces of technology. So if you want to come around here, he's going to show us how he can open the door through his phone, and then once he's in there, he can use his voice or his phone to control several features. David's environmental control unit in this room is called Control 4. He can access it through voice controls paired with Alexa, his phone, or the control panel over here on the wall.
Alexa, turn on open blinds. Alexa, turn on all lights.
So David just showed he can control the blinds in this room, which are currently battery operated. These are actually outdated. They have some now that aren't even battery operated and don't require as much maintenance. And then he also was able to turn his lights on or off. He can control individual blinds and individual lights, or he can do them all at once like he just did. David, what else can you do in this room?
I can also open and close the door with my voice, and I can do the thermostat controls, whether it be setting a temperature or increasing and decreasing the temperature by 1 or 2 degrees. Alexa, set temperature to 73 degrees.
Auto's keeping the temperature between 71 and 73.
So over here on the thermostat, when David did that, the set temperature in the right corner bumped up from 72 to 73. Features like this are especially important thinking about when David is in bed at night. If he's not able to transfer himself in and out of bed currently, or wants to conserve energy and shoulder conservation, decreasing the number of transfers that he's doing. Once he's in bed, if he forgot to turn off the light, he's able to do it through his voice or his phone versus having to get back up out of bed or calling somebody to do it.
Turn on open door.
So now that David showed us his environmental control unit, I think it's important to note that these systems can be costly or hard to get installed if you think about all the different features that you need to truly benefit from using them. So there are other cheaper ways that require less equipment that you can allow somebody to access pieces of their environment through either a phone app or their voice. So some good examples are the Amazon Alexa and the Echo devices or the Google Homes. And there's all sorts of different brands and varieties of smart outlets that you could plug something such as a lamp into, and then somebody would be able to be in bed and turn a lamp on or off for any needs throughout the night, or even a fan for temperature regulation overnight.
All right, I am Sarah, and I am one of the OTs that works here. I work with both our brain and spinal cord injury populations, and this is Rod. Rod is one of our residents who sustained a spinal cord injury, and he is going to showcase our virtual reality system for you. So this is actually Rod's first time doing virtual reality, so he's going to experience it alongside you guys. So the headset can be fitted to anyone's head size. So ready? It's coming down around your eyes here. Okay, so you probably see darkness right now. All right, so Rod, today we're going to do Fruit Ninja. Okay, so I'm going to pull that up real quick here and explain to you here what. So the purpose of the VR is to really provide a way to use assistive technology for an intervention. So this would be something where we're really trying to work on gaining more strength in the arms, or maybe we're working on balance. We're working on some of that seated balance, maybe standing balance. And it's just a really fun way to interact with technology. So this becomes a lot more motivating to folks when you're able to do something like playing video games versus some of the other activities that we can do within a typical therapy gym. So this is a pretty much one of our go-to games. We like to play this a lot for folks. It's just really interactive. It's something that a lot of us have played elsewhere, and so again, wanting to showcase this game for you. So what I'd like you to do is let's go ahead and let's look up for me just a second so I can see what's going on here. All right, let's go ahead and let's do the arcade over here. Slice that banana all the way on your left. Okay, so you have 60 seconds. Now slice as many of those bananas as you can. Any of the fruits, try to avoid. There you go, you got the jackpot over there. Try to avoid any of the bombs. Look back to your other side. Keep slicing. There you go. Got some of the bonuses. It was a lot slower with the freeze banana. Ooh. You know, I think right now, sitting in a chair we're working on a lot of sitting balance. So you can see even with Rod, using those elbows to support himself as he's moving around. So what we could do is you can make it more challenging. I could say, hey, no longer can you use, those the armrests to help you with your balance. So then you're really working on balance, you're working on strengthening. So this is strengthening all areas of that upper body. And so, a lot of our activities can tend to focus on just one isolated muscle group, where this is working on all those muscle groups together. And so it's a really complex activity to really continue to push our folks through their rehab process. We also have done this with folks standing. So then again, you think about what might be challenging then. Maybe we're just working on building that standing balance. And so you can do the same exact games from a standing position, and it can just be that extra level of challenge. For Rod too, and several of our folks, just getting that increased hand function can be really a big piece as well. So if you look at the remotes on here, you can see there's different buttons, and so some of the games require you to push different buttons, and so it's requiring you then to coordinate that extra level of activity as you're playing some of the different games. And so there's ways that we can also work on some of that fine motor activity, that strength of that grip as well. So another great thing that the VR really allows is for a lot of really good bilateral work. So, for Rod, he's having to use both those arms at the same time while he's playing the game. And so for some of our folks, if they have one side that they're really able to use, then we can most definitely play some of these games. But the great thing is that just that bilateral integration that we can have while playing this game just continues to be a big factor in recovery process when you can really challenge both those sides of the brain at the same time. All right, so we are going to showcase now just a really simple part of assistive technology. So as simple as a smartphone. So we will be showing what we call memory compensation. So for a lot of our folks, it's just helpful to remember what tasks they have that day, what activities they have. Maybe it's remembering what they did during their therapy session, what they did that day, to be able to pass that along to their loved ones and to be able to keep track of those sessions that they do. So what we're going to showcase here is a couple apps, a Gmail app, and then we're also going to showcase the Notes app. And these are both ways that we can use that memory compensation. So Rod, why don't you go ahead, I'll have you open up your phone there. Okay, and then I'll have you first find your Gmail account. Okay, and then let's go to your Google Calendars. So here's the Google Calendar. So this goes through and shows every appointment that he has throughout the day. This way he knows where he's going, what he has to do. Rod would know the way that he could add an event. So if he were to need to add in a reminder of some task, he would be able to, do you want to show how you can add an event there with the plus sign? So he can add events, reminders, goals, right? So the reminder might be call Sarah. So that would just give him the reminder that maybe he needed to follow up with me on something throughout his day. Click on one of the events that you have right now, Rod. And let's say we wanted to add in information right here, so everything's in one place. His calendar's here, and we can add in then, if you go to that edit button, we are able to then edit and add any sort of notes that we want. So if we go on down here, you can actually type in that note section, worked on transfers. And if you save that, then that will be saved. You can save it for just the current event, this event. And then now that information is saved in there so that he can go back and refer back to it as needed. that's really nice to have everything in a succinct one place so they are able to find all the information they might need. The other way that we sometimes will take memory compensation notes would be if you go back to your home screen, and let's pull up your notes app. So most iPhones, actually I believe all iPhones have the notes app. And then what we can do is we can add these different notes and keep them ongoing. So right now he has a few already in there of what questions might he need to ask certain people. Maybe he's gonna have a section for OT, and then he's gonna just say everything we do during our OT sessions, and we tag the date. Maybe it's just important things to remember about OT, questions to ask, right? So that's a great way to be able to have all of those notes in one section. For Rod, it would be more challenging for him to try to keep something written. And so this is where assistive technology can come into play really well. He is able to access this phone. You see this is on his chair at all times. He's able to access it. He has a system to access this in bed as well. Similar system to this lock line piece here. And so he's able to access that from his bed as well, in case that he's needing to call someone in the middle of the evening, or he needs to check to see what he has on his calendar that morning when he gets up. So again, a great way to be able to keep all of this information that they might need if they're not able to write that out, and keep that on some level of paper. Because I think if you think about any of us going throughout our day, we have some sort of memory compensation. I know I keep a lot of sticky notes around. Some people might keep them on their phone, but this is something that we all naturally do, is keep some level of memory compensation. And so we really want to make sure that we're setting up our folks for best success. And if they can't access the old system of memory compensation, these are really great tools to be able to use.
Now we're going to take a look at how you can use a Bluetooth connection between a power wheelchair and a cell phone to do mouse emulation on a phone. So once you make programming adjustments, it's pretty common on a power wheelchair that you have to power cycle it a few times, which just means turn it on and off for those programming adjustments to stick. Right now, David's just switching through the mode options on his chair. So we went from drive mode to seating mode to now the mouse mode. He just connected his phone to the Bluetooth. And then as you can see, he's using his joystick on his power wheelchair to drive a mouse around his phone, similar to how you would on a computer. David, can you show us how to open an app? So David used one of the soft switches on his joystick mount to be able to select an option. There are different ways that you can program it so that if you were to hold the joystick still and hover over an option, that it would select it there, and that would be a mode of selection. You could use different switches and you can change the programming on the power wheelchair as well. On an iPhone, you can do switch scanning through a power wheelchair, which is a little bit more complicated. And now the newer power wheelchairs have software that allow you to use mouse emulation on iPhones as well. Now we're going to take a look at voice access on an iPhone. This is a new feature that came out last year, and it's something that we found really useful here. I work with our folks after they've experienced a spinal cord injury, and I've used this with a lot of residents. So it's a simple piece of technology. We all have a cell phone, and this is just a great way to open up the doors to how people can experience it if they have upper extremity impairments that don't allow them to access their phone with their upper extremities or with switch control. So a good example is if somebody is in bed at night and they want to be able to access their phone still, and they can't have a switch control set up while they're in bed, they can use their voice through this feature. So let's take a look at how you do it. There are still some little loopholes that Apple needs to work through, and we're trying to figure out ways around. One of them is that you can't operate it if your phone's asleep. So the way around that we've found is to use Siri. Hey Siri, cancel.
Okay.
So that woke my phone up, and now I can use voice access. Go home. You can see the little blue microphone up here. That means that it's listening to me. So now the microphone is off and it's not listening to me. wake up. And now it's back in listening to me. And then let's say I wanted to open my text messages. I could say show numbers. And now it shows a number next to each thing on my phone, and I just have to say the number that I want to select. Tap 27. Go home. So anytime a keyboard pulls up, like if I was searching on Safari or if I was in a text message, the voice access might listen to the conversations that are happening around me. So you can see that it's picking items up. So this would be a good example of where you would want it to go to sleep so that it wasn't listening to you or anybody around you. Go to sleep. So now I could have a conversation. So this has been important in sessions or with residents when they're with their family members, because otherwise it ends up waking everything up and picking everything up. You get some funny text messages that get sent. Show numbers. Tap 3. Show numbers. Tap 1. Google. Tap go. And that's how you can help a resident that has upper extremity impairments be able to access their phone through their voice.
All right, you guys, so that was just a really small glimpse of some of the technology that's out there and that's offered, but obviously there's so much more. If you guys have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us here at QLI or visit any of our social media pages or teamqli.com. We're so happy and thankful that you guys were able to still get this presentation, and please, like I said, reach out with